All right, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of my Understanding Video Games series. We're going to be talking about dodging and kind of movement abilities, and the focus is going to be specifically on that. And I'd just like to do a little quick intro. You know, we did a blocking video that was like an hour long, so I'm hoping to make this video a lot shorter um, because I think dodging is a lot more fundamental to how we play games. Like it's a lot easier for us to understand what's so special about a dodge and things like that. And I think the most important thing to know about dodging is always that the concept of invincibility frames. The idea that when you're rolling, let's say the roll is like it's like less than half a second. It's like maybe 15 frames. Like if you're running at 60 FPS, it's probably like a 15 to 20 frame animation. Actually, it could be more. I don't know what I'm talking about. But the idea is, let's say 20 frames are the roll. Only about half or maybe even 1/3 of those frames, right in the middle, your character is going to be invincible for that time. And that's a really fundamental thing to understand. And it really, it kind of plays into kind of what I'm going to be talking about, which is, you know, when I did the blocking video, it was mainly about Sekiro because I think Sekiro has a really ingenious blocking mechanic. It really incentivizes you to be forceful and to kind of push through enemies and use the block to your advantage. But when we get into what I would consider to be the big three games, and the big three are really special games that are really, really mechanically complex. And if you're good at one of them, you're going to be pretty good at all of them. And I think, like, if you've only played one of them, I think you should play all three. And so obviously you can probably guess what two of them are. We've got Sekiro, a classic. We've got Dark Souls 3, also by From Software. And then the third one is a very special game by Team Ninja, and that's called Nioh 2. It's the sequel to Nioh 1, and it adds a lot of really cool mechanics to the game. And I think really what my focus is going to be is that in each of these games, blocking is different and dodging is different. And so you have to kind of reframe your perspective on how to defend yourself within each of those games. Like, let's take Sekiro for an example. Sekiro is a heavily blocking focused game because it incentivizes you to keep pushing when you're blocking. You can actually deflect strikes, and when you deflect a strike, you're keeping the momentum on the attacker, and so you can keep pushing them, and that's a very core component. But the downside to that is that the Sekiro dodge has very few iframes, so it's really hard for you to dodge through an attack. The dodge is more about spacing and more about positioning around an enemy. Like, another really fundamental aspect of these games is, let's take a boss and imagine that they're a point, and then take that boss and make a circle around them. So like, we have a big circle, and then inside of that circle is the boss. And you think the circle is your safe zones, or the circle is how you're going to move around the boss. You're always going to be moving around them in a circle, and it benefits you to imagine attacks in a different way. So you're either dodging clockwise or you're dodging counterclockwise, and that's probably the wrong. I probably mix those up, but you get the idea. Like, the fundamental idea is trying to get behind an enemy, trying to get around them, and I think Sekiro is really good about that. But let's get into like Dark Souls 3, where rolling is a really fundamental aspect of the game. Like, rolling is basically your only defense mechanism because blocking is just not very effective in that game, and so Dark Souls 3 is really a rolling game. It incentivizes you to roll around your enemies, and, you know, like I said, you imagine a circle around the enemy, and then you move around that circle to kind of get behind them or get in front of them sometimes. And then when we get into Nioh 2, I think that game is really, really special because of the attack patterns, because of the attack variety, and also because Nioh 2 has a lot of different stats. Like, Nioh 2 has abilities that give you a longer dodge distance and more invulnerability when you dodge. But you have to block in that game. Blocking is so fundamental because a lot of the attacks in Nioh 2 are going to kill you in one hit. They're just super dangerous. And so you really create this kind of magical ability within your brain where you just know, okay, I can dodge this attack or I'm going to have to block this attack. And so I might put the game as Sekiro, but I think I'm going to focus a lot on footage from Nioh 2 and showing you the idea that when I'm fighting opponents, when I'm fighting bosses, a lot of the times it is just instinct and me being able to say, am I safe to dodge or do I have to plant my feet and block the attack? Like, that's kind of how I think about it. And really, it becomes very stressful at times, but you get better and better at dodging. And really, like, what I'm trying to get at is when you dodge, you're not just doing the same movement. Your dodge is actually you moving to a better position on that circle. So we take that circle again, right? We take that circle and you say, if the attack is moving in this direction, if it's a linear attack, which is something I'm going to be getting into later, then you need to be moving around that attack in a circular motion. And as you learn to dodge, you get better at deciding, do I need to dodge left? Do I need to dodge right? Can I do a double dodge and actually get behind opponents? Like, in some ways, the dodge mechanic actually becomes more of a movement mechanic where it becomes more efficient for you to dodge. Like, let's say you're really far away from an enemy. It's more effective for you to roll into that enemy than it is to run into that enemy or walk into that enemy. And so you kind of learn these patterns of when to dodge, when to move in, when to move out. And it becomes a very fundamental aspect of how you play these games. All right, everyone, we're here again. We're going to be doing a little bit of a different segment. It's something that I want to work on a little bit. Basically, what I'm going to be doing, you can see on the screen right now, I have some footage of Nioh 2, and this is me fighting what I would consider to be a mini boss called the Itsumade. Itsumade is kind of like an old school Japanese word, and it has lots of different connotations and meanings. But I want to show you why I think the Itsumade is a great enemy to practice on, and why this enemy in particular is really good at countering your perspective and forcing you to think about each fight in a different way. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's watch this footage and we'll do some play-by-play on what's going on. So we're going to start off with some broad footage. We'll talk about some different attack types. So we're going to be getting into what I would consider to be the 5 cardinal attack types. That consists of angular attacks, linear attacks, area of effect, grab attacks, and ranged attacks. And each of these attacks I want you to think of in a different way in terms of how you should react to them and how you should be dodging them or whether you need to be blocking them. So enough talking. Let's sit back, let's watch this video, and then you guys, I'll give you a play-by-play. All right. Yeah, so that was a little abrupt. So what you saw there, here, we'll go back to a screen. We'll go over here. Okay, so what you saw there was what I would consider to be the big three attack types. You might have missed it, but I showed you first an area of effect attack, and then there was an angular attack, and then there was a linear attack, and then there was another area of effect, and then it kind of went crazy from there. There was another linear, and then there was another area of effect. So then I've slowed down this footage, and we're going to go through it at half speed, and I just want to show you what each of the attacks are one by one. Okay, so right here at the very beginning, he does his wing sweep, where he does a full 360. He does a double 360 with his wings. That is an area of effect attack. Now, why would I consider that an area of effect attack? Well, because if you are inside of that area, you are going to get hit. And so if you watch how I react to that attack, we can go back a little ways. So what I do, basically, if you watch it again, immediately when I see the attack, I run away. And then immediately when it finishes, I dash right back into him, okay? And I'll show you that one more time. So that's the secret to area of effects, is that as long as you're outside of the range, you're going to be safe. And so the key aspect of that is knowing when are you safe. So watch, his wings barely clip me, but they do hit me, so I do have to block, but then immediately I rush back in. So that's an important thing. That's classic area of effect. You exit and then you enter the battle again, and you do that almost instantly. As soon as you're safe from the attack, you run back in and you push forward, and I always dodge to enter the attack. And then up next, we've got a much longer segment. It's going to start off with an angular attack. I just want you to watch how I react to each of these strikes. So there's the angular attack. I block it, then I dodge around. That's a linear attack. Another linear attack. And then watch those dark pools. See the dark pools, they light up purple and then they explode. So those three were the core attacks of the Itsumade. The Itsumade is going to place down these dark areas, and then when it's placed those down, it's going to trigger those and trigger an explosion in that area. So it becomes very dangerous. So let's watch one more time. So you see the tail swipe, that's angular, very hard to dodge. There's the linear, there's another linear. And what was special about those linear attacks? They were very easy to dodge. It's very simple. When an attack comes at you on a single plane, like think about when you're looking someone in the eyes, basically the attack is as wide as your body is. And so if you can move your body outside of that danger zone, then you're going to be safe. And I think danger zone is a great word to think about, like, okay, each attacks have different danger zones, right? If we go back again and we talk about the angular attack, which was that tail sweep, it's so dangerous because watch this. Dodging through that is going to be very difficult because it's such a wide sweep, because it's an attack for so long. And that's another really important thing about these kinds of attacks, is that basically the attack has active windows. So just like you have invincibility frames, the attacks have attack frames. And whenever those frames are active, you can get damaged for those attacks. And so what you have to do is line up your invincibility frames with the attack frames. But the angular attacks are so brutal because they're wide, they take up a huge area, and oftentimes you're going to get hit for that whole area. So basically it's impossible to dodge through, or it's very, very difficult to dodge through. So we'll go back one more time and I'll show you. I think angular attacks are the most difficult. Think of those like a sweeping attack, an arcing attack, anything that moves in a circular motion. That's like a fundamental thing about fighting, is most attacks are either linear or they are angular. They either gain angular momentum or they gain linear momentum. And that's how you think of it. Like think of Ichimonji from Sekiro. That is a linear attack. It's very forward, very straight, but it's very easy to miss. And then you think about like Whirlwind Slash. Whirlwind Slash is the double slash. That's going to be two arcing strikes that are going to be very wide areas of hitting. So it's going to be a lot easier to hit something, but it's probably not going to be as powerful. Okay, let's keep watching. So here we have a linear attack, easy to dodge, I get around it. And then watch the pools. The pools are going to light up with energy. That's going to come back later on in this video. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why those pools are so special. So watch, it's going to trigger again. There's another pool. It's going to explode. And then I run back in as soon as after. And then right there, I activate my super ability. So I'm not going to get into that. That'll be a separate video. So we've got another segment. This segment is at full speed. I just want you to watch what this guy does. He puts down tons and tons of these dark pools. And these dark pools are a very special mechanic in Nioh. And you have to perform a very special action if you want to eradicate those dark pools. And if you don't, watch what happens when you don't eradicate it. Boom. Huge explosion. If you saw my stamina up in the top left, I almost died. I had 0 stamina. I was winded. But thankfully, I had a split second that I could roll away just in time for my iframes to catch that explosion. And so I was safe. And that's like That's one of my fundamental understandings is when you see that area of effect, you back off. You get as far away as you can, and then you run back in. And then let's keep watching. Okay, we're going to go back a little ways. We've got another segment that we want to talk about. So I'm going to go back to this explosion, and we're going to take it from here. And I just want to show you these next couple moves. Okay, so we've talked about the big three. We've talked about area of effect, we've talked about angular attacks, and we've talked about linear attacks. Now, the last two are kind of like ancillary attacks. They're very rare, not very rare sometimes, but they're not going to be as common. So let's just watch. There's the explosion, and then watch. He's going to launch some kunai at me, and then ready, here's the final attack. Boom, right there. So that was a very special attack. Some of you might have seen that. When his hands start glowing, that's the sign of a grab attack. And why are grab attacks so dangerous? Well, if I had gotten hit by that grab attack, it would have taken 70% of my health in one move. And that's why grab attacks in Nioh 2 especially are so deadly, because they are designed to be fast, to be far, and to be dangerous. So when you're fighting a lot of enemies in Nioh 2, when they're about to do a grab attack, their hands are gonna turn gray. They're gonna have that weird effect on their hands, and then they're gonna rush you. They're gonna rush you in a line. And if they grab you during any point in that attack, even if you try and roll, you might not land it, and they're gonna grab you, they're gonna snap your neck, and they're gonna slam you into the ground, and you're gonna be dead. And so really, you won't see a grab attack very often, but they are deadly. And grab attacks are one of those things that hopefully you can dodge around. Hopefully you can think of that circle and move around the attack, because it moves in a line. So it'll be very easy for you to move around. And so that's a very easy way to handle it. And same with ranged attacks. Like think of a ranged attack. It's very rare for you to throw a weapon and for it to go in an arc to hit you. Most ranged attacks are going to be linear attacks. So that means you can block them, you can dodge them, but either way, it's going to be pretty easy for you to understand. And then I think we have one more clip to show right after this. So I did mention those dark pools. So I want you to focus on how I'm playing. So there's a dark pool at my feet. So I'm going to block, and then you saw right there. That was a little hard to catch. We're going to go back a little ways. So you see, when he does that slam attack, it triggers a dark pool. And then what I'm doing is I'm triggering a chi pulse. And that's a special Nioh mechanic. I won't get into it. But basically, you have to time your attacks in a specific way, and then those pools will go away. And why is that important in Nioh? Well, I think that's a really cool thing about Nioh is that there are a lot of mechanics that say if you can be inside of that dark pool while you have that chi pulse active, like if we look in the top left, you can see in the stamina bar, we have a green bar, we have a white bar, and we have a red bar. And I think we can go back a little ways, and you might get a better segment of that. So right there, so you saw when I blocked the attack, it took some of my stamina away, and then it also gave me this white bar. And when that white bar fills up, then I can trigger that chi pulse, and then the pool will go away. Boom, the pool went away. You see it's gone. There's no more pool over here. And so that's what's so cool about Nioh is that not only are you dodging attacks, not only are you blocking attacks, but you also have to eradicate those dark pools. And that means not just dodging properly and blocking properly, but also timing your stamina usage so that you can eradicate those pools whenever necessary. So you can see how this is why I love Nioh 2, is because it is just so complex, so mind-boggling. It's so annoying, but that's what's great about it. It's just a pain in the ass, but it is fun, and it is great to play, and it's really fun to test your mettle and really just try things out. So I think it's probably going to be the end of the video. If you like Sekiro, if you like Dark Souls games, you should play Nioh 2, because I think that game will test your mettle. And I think that's all we're going to do for this segment. We might have a conclusion, but who knows?